Vreeland, we have some questions that I would like your clarity on, because these are questions that are all over social media that is kind of confusing. It sometimes contradicts the teachings of what I learned through Tibetan Buddhism. So I wanted to seek your opinions. Question number one: do we actually have free will, or is everything predetermined destiny? And if we do have free will, how much free will do we really have?
So that's an interesting question, because from one point of view we have free will, and from another point of view we do not. And how does one hold these two concepts? I think that most important is to consider that we are responsible for our actions. And in that sense, not only do we have free will, but we must exert a certain amount of independent willpower to head in our particular direction. That means when I'm confronted with an opportunity to help someone as opposed to being selfish, I have to consider that I have a choice. And I have to consider that to help the other person is the better thing to do. And that if I am truly working on myself spiritually, I have the obligation, the responsibility to exert that free will and benefit the other person. From another point of view, we can say that due to our past actions, due to the frame of mind that we are saddled with at this moment, we are going to act either selfishly or unselfishly. That is determined by the habits that we have cultivated over years, decades, lifetimes.
So the habits are pushing us to make certain decisions, like a proclivity to do a habit.
Right.
So what is your advice on how to break the habit?
So, if we have the ability to recognize that we have a choice, to push ourselves to take the choice that is less selfish and more caring for others.
So earlier you used the word willpower. How do you generate more willpower?
Practice.
Practice? How do you practice willpower? Like, for example,
practice whatever it is that you're trying to develop the will to do. You just work at it.
Work at it as in repetition?
Yeah.
As in repetition.
I'll tell you. Something like generosity. We all have, at some level, a little stinginess. And that's something that we have to fight in developing, let's say, the habit of being generous. If we, as we walk along the street, if we have a pocket full of quarters, and we begin distributing quarters to each and every person we see who's asking for money, and then we give 2 or 3 quarters, and then we start giving $1.
Right.
Practice, even if it's nearly a game that we do, that process of giving with an amount that is maybe not so consequential to us helps us develop generosity to the point where we can give more and more.
So it's like you're building more strength, more changing a new habit, rehabiting.
Yeah. Or deepening our habit, strengthening our habit.
Strengthening our habit. Okay. So does that mean we have free will or don't have free will then? You said there's both perspectives, So what exactly is your truth?
Well, as I say, though to a certain extent our will is determined by our past habit, at the moment that we have a decision, we have to consider that we have the freedom to act and the responsibility to act virtuously, generously. And so I think that it's really important that we approach that, the dilemma of whether or not we have free will, with the decision that I have free will. I have the free will that enables me to make the virtuous choice.
Can I say it then? It's you have a free will, a free choice on one's own attitude. Is that another way to say it? Some things, like certain things happen to us through life. There's obstacles, challenges, unexpected disappointments, and then it's like, well, it happened to me. I can't change it. Is it predestined? It's just I just need to accept it, or I created it, or is it the only thing I can control is how I react now? So what exactly is the free will?
Free will is how I react now.
How I react now. That's a good way of putting it. How do you react in this present moment? Second question is, over the last few years, there's been a lot of talks about self-love on social media, a lot of messages on what is self-love, how is self-love, the importance of self-love. So these are things I wasn't familiar with until recently. Why do we need self-love? What is self-love? From your perspective?
Well, I think that caring for oneself is important. We have to eat properly. We have to, as we get older, do our exercises to remain limber and able to move. We have to rest. There are all sorts of things that we really must do in order to maintain the vitality that we need to work towards being able to be of benefit to others. To really indulge in self-love and to feel justified in a sort of selfish way of doing things is I don't think, appropriate from a spiritual point of view. I was at a conference once where we were discussing compassion, and there was a fellow Buddhist monk who was talking about the importance of having compassion towards oneself. And our understanding of the definition of compassion is that it is the wish to remove the suffering of others. Now, in order to have compassion for others, and in order to have the wish to remove the suffering of others, we have to recognize the suffering of others. And the way we develop that recognition is by recognizing our state of suffering and recognizing how dependent we are on others for everything we have. If we recognize our suffering, our own state of suffering, and we recognize that others are no different from us, and we recognize how dependent we are on others, we will naturally have this wish to remove the suffering of others.
So how can, back to self-love, is like how can one determine if it's self-love or it's narcissism? I'm just being self-cherishing or self-grasping, which I learned in Tibetan Buddhism, that's the cause of suffering, is self-grasping, self-centeredness, self-cherishing. So then, is that self-love? Isn't that self-love? Or how do you distinguish it?
So, as I presented it, the recognizing the importance of caring for ourselves in order to be able to benefit others is important. And so loving oneself and respecting oneself in that sense is valid. Indulging that is not. You know, everything there's a line between the two that we have to be attentive to. And I think that, you know, eating, it's important to eat. You need to eat in order to have the vitality to do your work. To overeat takes away your vitality.
So in other words, self-love is not selfish.
Self-love can be selfish if it's self-indulgent, and if you care for yourself in order that you can be unselfish, you can act for others, that's good.
I once heard His Holiness Dalai Lama say, it's important to be wisely selfish, not foolishly selfish.
When His Holiness the Dalai Lama talks about wise selfishness, he's saying, if you understand the laws of karma, the laws of cause and effect, you know that, for example, the cause of wealth is generosity. The more generous you are, the more wealthy you will be in the future. And so to act generously now could be considered like an intelligently selfish act.
Right. That makes sense. It benefits yourself and others and oneself, ultimately.
But it is said that if you engage in generosity with the idea that in the future you'll get something back, that's, as one of our teachers said, selfish. That's business.
Okay. So how do you attempt to remove that?
You attempt to develop the wish to help others out of the simple wish to help others, out of a recognition of their need, not out of a wish to get something out of it.
That's still tinged with selfishness.
That would be, yeah.
But it can not still be the cause of wealth? You're still giving, but it's not 100% pure yet.
Giving is the cause of wealth, yes. Giving with the idea that you're going to get something back. I mean, you know, the mind is a tricky thing, and when we engage in generosity, there are all sorts of motives that are tickling us in different ways, and you know, we still make an attempt to cut through those and give because the person is in need.
How can one build more self-confidence and self-belief?
You know, we live in a time when social media and the culture puts a lot of weight on people, and you are expected to succeed, and the peer pressure makes it all difficult. I think that the degree to which we're able to separate from those let's say judges of the way we're doing things,
right,
and simply do things out of, let's say, if we're talking about our job, we engage in our job, just doing as good a job as we can, and acting as well as we can in our work environment, in our home environment. I think that's as good as we can do. I'm not sure that I'm really addressing your question, but
I think a lot of people struggle with self-confidence, self-worth, self-esteem. I've heard this homeless address this before, where in Africa, someone saying like, "Oh, I don't have potential." His homeless was very emotional about it. Like, no, you have potential just like anyone else. So a lot of people struggle with that. I used to struggle like, oh, like I have a confidence, but how do I develop confidence?
so how did you develop confidence? You seem to be very confident, actually.
No, sometimes it's still a struggle, but I think confidence, just observing you, if you're a monk, like exerting effort into commitment, discipline through time, over periods of time, then you honor your commitment through time. There'll be failure sometimes, but you still go back to honoring your commitment. I think through time, then I'm developing more confidence. That's how I did it. To build mental strength, and I honored my goal or my commitment. It was difficult, but I still did my best. Sometimes I failed at it, then try again. So that's. But I want to hear from like, what is the Tibetan Buddhist way? If someone's like, I have the confidence to become a Buddha. I can't do it. Not me. It's very prevalent in society. Not me. I'm poor. I can never be rich. I'm unsuccessful. I'll never be successful. I'm lonely. I'll never find love. I'm can't find a job. I'll never find a job. It's a lot of suffering in society. And you're like, how do we turn it around?
So I'm not sure that I know. I'm a believer in taking little steps and concentrating on each step.
Right.
And if we create a momentum in a particular direction, step by step, we find that we've moved rather far after a while.
Right.
But in terms of psychologically, how does one deal with a lack of confidence? I don't know. But I do think I think it's important to learn to take it easy, to take a rest, to take a walk,
right.
to break the struggle with some easy, relaxed time.
That helped me through time. Just learning to relax more. That's okay. You don't need to always work hard. That's okay. And then step by step. That's something you inspire me. Step by step. A lot of times when I see you, you remind me of, just be more grounded in the present moment. And then it inspired me. Step by step through time, came a long way through time. So I think that's being a spiritual warrior. It's like, step by step, you can transform. It is possible through time. So many of us, I think, we were looking for instant, quick, instead of step by step. Next question is, why is self-awareness important, and how can I practice more self-awareness?
Sitting, let's say, in the morning and setting one's motivation. I'm going to devote my energies today to working at diminishing my selfish tendencies and towards becoming a little more caring, a little more patient, a little more generous, whatever. That's very important, because the motivation with which you start the day determines the quality of the day. It affects our attitude.
So sitting in the morning in solitude, by yourself.
It can be sitting on the subway. It can be wherever, driving, wherever we are. If we just say, today I'm going to make an effort towards just being a little more patient, a little less selfish, a little more tolerant, a little more generous, whatever. Then, but in the evening, and I think this is more specifically towards your question, reviewing how we did in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And if we've lost our temper, if we've acted improperly, if we've, whatever it is that we might have done, recognize what we've done and regret it, and determine to work at countering that tendency in the future. We must also delight in the good things we've done. We have to develop a certain positive enthusiasm for what we have accomplished in terms of spiritual work in the day. And that helps, that sort of creates a positive momentum.
Delighting in one's own
Virtuous action.
virtuous action.
Yeah.
What is the purpose of meditation? Because there's a lot of apps. There's a lot of different teachers on all over social media. I, as a Tibetan Buddhist, learn certain meditation techniques, but then it's kind of different from what's out there. What is actually the purpose of meditation?
The purpose of meditation is to familiarize yourself with something a little more deeply. The word for meditation in Tibetan is gom, and gom means familiarize. And if you take a book, let's say a book of instructions on something, and you read the book, and you reread the book, you are familiarizing yourself with how to use, I don't know, the camera. So that process of learning, contemplating on a slightly deeper level will enable you to make use of whatever it is that you've learned about in a more better. So that familiarization is meditation.
Right.
When we are applying it to, let's say, compassion that we just talked about, as I just mentioned, compassion is that wish to remove the suffering of others. And as I said before, it is dependent on our recognizing our own state of suffering, our own problems, and recognizing how dependent we are on others, and recognizing that they are experiencing the same kind of troubles that we are. And if we go through that line of reasoning, we will come to a point of having our hearts open to them. So the analytical process is meditation. Once we have gotten to the point of actually having our hearts go out to the person, we feel for them, we really wish to remove their suffering. At that point we should hold on to that. Just sit on that in our thoughts and experience that wish to remove the suffering of others. And so no longer analytically, we are simply placing our minds on that feeling of the desire to remove.
So when you say feeling the mind, is it feeling the mind or is it feeling the heart? Or is it just
we're using our minds. It's a mental process by which we come to, let's say, the feeling of the heart of compassion, and we then remain on that.
So what I gather is meditation is you familiarizing yourself with a lot, you're analyzing, you're contemplating. It's a line of reasoning that leads you to a certain feeling. Is that accurate? Is that another way of saying it? Because I think many people use we want the image of meditation is, oh, that's peaceful, it's calm. I need to de-stress, and I can't. My mind can't stop thinking. So there's a lot of people. I never meditate because I'm not good at it. I can't stop thinking. So it's like, what exactly is the truth? Like, are you supposed to be thinking? Are you not supposed to be thinking? Or are you supposed to be observing your thinking? Or depends on the situation.
So we don't necessarily consider meditation and thinking to be separate. There might be meditative traditions where they are separate, but for us, that
do you actually? My take on it is, yes, you need to plant seeds, karmic seeds, but the seeds need to marinate or germinate with the conditions to grow. The growth, to be able to grow, you need frequency. You need vibration, energy, the energy of a higher frequency. If I feel low, if I feel fear, poverty, lack, that's opposite of abundance frequency. This is my study of quantum physics. Like, oh, that could be some truth to that. So what is the Tibetan Buddhist take on this?
So you're going to have to bring me back to the original question.
The question is it possible to manifest something that you have not created karmic seed for?
Well, no. But there are ways of bringing about results. In Buddhism, there's what's called the common path, where you are working towards perfecting yourself with the goal of becoming fully enlightened and thereby being of the most effective benefit to others. So you engage in the practice with the goal of helping others. You have to perfect your generosity. You have to perfect your ethics. You have to perfect your patience. You have to perfect your perseverance or joyful effort. You have to perfect your concentration, and you have to perfect your wisdom. When all of these qualities are brought to perfection, that in itself manifests as an enlightened state where you are most effectively beneficial to others. There are techniques which are called Tantra, where you actually visualize, you think of yourself as enlightened, and you thereby bring about enlightenment by generating the effect that the fully enlightened state. However, these are let's say tricky techniques, and in order to engage in them, you have to have a deep feeling of compassion for others, so deep that you wish to engage in these practices by which an effective ability to help others will be brought about. And you have to have what we call a recognition of selflessness. You have to come to have recognized that there is no self.
Right.
And it is only based on that deep, compassionate attitude of wishing to attain enlightenment to help others, and a recognition of the emptiness of self,
right,
coming together, that you can then that becomes the basis for thinking of yourself as fully enlightened, using this technique by which you imagine the resultant state of being fully enlightened. So the prerequisites to engaging in such thought is pretty tough. The prerequisite is where we have to put our work. We, at our level, have to really work at cultivating that compassion, cultivating that recognition of there being no inherently existent self.
Right.
And when we can really bring those together with the wish to become enlightened in order to help others, then we can actually enter the path of imagining ourselves. Because the self that we imagine to be enlightened should not be me. I shouldn't think of myself as enlightened.
Right.
I should, out of this great compassionate wish to attain enlightenment, and out of recognizing that there's no essential me, if I look among all the parts, it is that attitude itself, it's that recognition itself that should take on the form of the enlightened being that becomes the sort of effect method.
But you make it sound like that. Then you have to be like maybe like a high-level monk. You have to be tantra to be able to manifest. But according to what the information that's out there now, it's what I've studied is it does make sense what you say is okay. You need what the teachings, like for example, Joe Dispenza and science is teaching is the heart chakra. You need to be a powerful manifestor. You need to have to feel the heart. It emits from the heart, the magneticity, heart magnet. I believe that has to do with what you said. That's compassion, that's love. You have to have that feeling of love to manifest. Multiplied by selflessness. Selflessness, they call it the 5D world. Right? There's another way of saying it. 3Ds, the material world here, me, my sense of me, the physical, and a lot of manifestation practitioners, we try to practice, I'm outside my body, I'm not really just me here, I'm just, your consciousness. So it does correlate to what you say. Like, okay, Tibetan Buddhism teach it's emptiness, selflessness, and the heart, love. Then you combine both, you are able to manifest. It is possible. Any thoughts on that? Does it make sense?
Yes.
You agree? Okay. Thank you. I think that confirms a lot of like what's the misnomers out there and the myths or the partial truths out there. But okay, so for example, then, the way what I deduce is then, if you free the techniques, you say, well, what are the techniques to be able to manifest? What are the techniques? So you're saying it takes that compassion, the love, the feeling, right? The feeling and the imaginative state. So there's a lot of manifestation teachers out there, like Neville Goddard, like one of the great manifestors, taught your imagination is God. The way your imagination is God. Your consciousness is God. The way he explains it. So then you're saying you have to imagine, like the way you said, imagine you're the Buddha. Tantric visualization. So it does correlate with what's out there. But I think when we explain it, it does verify the Buddha taught these things. But do you have to be like a tantric practitioner?
Yes.
But there's many people who are doing it who are not tantric practitioners. And they all successfully manifest.
Okay. So I don't know. I can only put it in the context of our practice as I understand it and know it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's it. Appreciate it.
What do you?
I hope the camera was on. Yes, it was. 37 minutes.